Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 8 of Bill's Brews. Today, we're going to do something a little bit different. We're not going to brew a beer. We're not going to talk about beer today. But what we're going to do is brew a nice little honey mead. Now, a honey mead is kind of like a honey wine, and it's made out of some very simple ingredients. And the beauty of this whole thing is everything you need to brew mead, you can actually just buy in your regular grocery store. So the main ingredient is honey. So in our case, we're going to use 2 pounds, 8 ounces of a simple honey. And this one happens to be just a clover honey. We picked that up today in the grocery store. We also picked up one fresh orange. And what I did was I cleaned the skin of the orange off with a little bit of vodka just to kind of sanitize it. And then I shredded it. And we're going to just add some shredded orange peel. And that's going to add some citrusy flavor to it. And the honey actually goes well with citrusy flavors. Something else we're going to do that may sound a little strange is we're going to add about a half a cup of black tea that I brewed earlier. Now, black tea is not so much to add flavor to your mead, but it adds some tannins and changes the mouthfeel and makes it a little bit more complex. Now, one more thing. We're not going to use any kind of fancy yeast for mead. We're not going to use a special wine yeast. We're going to simply use FLEISCHMANN'S yeast that you can buy in that same grocery store. You get all the other ingredients. And some people say don't do this. Some people say you need to use something special. I've talked to a lot of people who have been pretty successful brewing mead, and they swear by this stuff. So we're going to give it a try for our first one. And again, one of the goals we had today was make sure that you can buy everything in a grocery store. Now, when I mean everything, I even mean essentially the equipment. Okay, we have a fermenter here, a big mouth bubbler, a 1 gallon one, but you can actually just use a used and sanitized 1 gallon jug of something like apple juice that you might buy in the store. So a lot of people like to say, well, if you buy that and use that for your fermenter, well, you're buying the fermenter for a couple of bucks and you're getting the apple juice for free that you might want to make a cider or something else from. But anyway, the other thing we did, meads tend to not like chlorine. So to be sure we don't have any chlorine in the water, picked up at the same time in the same grocery store some Deer Park 100% natural spring water. Now, this stuff is pretty well sanitized, and since we don't do a boil, that's why I wanted to use this as well as cutting back on the chlorine. Okay, so the first thing we're going to add to the fermenter, and just to make sure that's the cleaned and sanitized fermenter. Everything here has been sanitized, and even this surface that I have everything on. So that's always important. So here we go. We're going to now add the entire 2 pounds, 8 ounces. All right, let's try to speed this up a little bit. We don't want you to sit here watching that honey pour all day, right? Let's pull that out. There we go. It's going to work a little bit quicker. So to make sure we get all of the honey here, what I'm going to do is pour a little bit of this water into this bottle of honey to kind of rinse it out and get the last of it into what we're doing here. Let's see if we can do this without spilling too much. All right. Hold it over here. I recommend a funnel. It's probably going to be a lot neater. So I'm going to put that on, put the lid back on top. I'm going to shake this up a bit. Get all the honey off the bottom and the sides. We don't want to waste that good stuff. Okay. And now let's pour it in. There we go. Looks like we got most of it. And the next thing we're going to do is add this water. Now, I'm going to add maybe a little more. I'm going to add up to the 1 gallon mark. I actually marked it off here. Now pour it on in. See where it comes up to. There we go. That's our 1 gallon. That worked out just about right. Okay. Now the next step I'm going to do is go over there and grab a sanitized paddle I have to stir this up. So what we want to do is dissolve this honey completely into the water. It's going to take a little while. And as I'm stirring that, I'm going to add the black tea that I made earlier. Pour that in. And just like with the beer, at this point in the process, we're fine with any oxygen. Actually, we want oxygen into this mixture right now. Looks like we're pretty well mixed. So the next thing, just like when you're doing a brew, after you get everything going in there, like a beer brew, what we're going to want to do is take a gravity reading. Now, I'm taking this gravity reading before I add the FLEISCHMANN'S yeast and before I add the orange peel, just to simply make it a little bit cleaner because it can get kind of messy. Now, I don't have a wine thief or I don't have a turkey baster to use right now, so we're going to kind of do this in a little bit of a dangerous, messy way. There we go. Wasn't too bad, right? Now I'm going to take my sanitized hydrometer, put it in there. Everything's sanitized, so whoa. Okay. We're looking at a reading. Wow, way different than you find in beer. This is a much higher gravity. So we are at, gosh, 1.080. Okay, let's pour it back in. It is what it is. So that's what we're starting at. And this is going to be fairly high gravity. Meads are much higher gravities. I expect this to come out in probably 12 to 15% range. It might even be a little bit more. We'll see. So I'll stir it up a little bit more. I'm going to add the orange peels. Stir that in a bit. And now for the FLEISCHMANN'S yeast. So tear that packet open. Pour it in. Okay. Next step, I'm going to put the lid on. Put it on there nice and tight so nothing comes in or out. I'm going to put my thumb over the hole on that bung and shake some oxygen in there. And just like beer, though, this needs lots of oxygen. So the more you can shake it, the better before the fermentation starts. Looks like we're getting some stuff in there good. Okay. Hopefully that's enough. I get everything tightened back on there. So I'm going to take a clean and sanitized airlock. Some sanitizer in it. Put it on top. And now we're ready to let it ferment and wait. Now that was very quick compared to making beer. So that's what's kind of interesting about this. If you don't have a lot of time and yet you want to brew something interesting, try a mead. And, you know, you could really do the whole deal in about a half an hour. And not much to it. Now, the thing with meads are they're probably going to take a lot longer to ferment than a beer. So I wouldn't even check back at this at least for another month. Okay, we can look at it, keep an eye on the airlock, make sure everything looks like it's going along fine. Probably in a couple hours, this thing will start to bubble. Um, but don't even check the gravity until maybe a month later. And what you want to do with this, since it's a relatively high gravity, you want to make sure everything's stabilized before you bottle it. Take a reading, and if it looks like it's within the a proper range where you might expect it to be, wait another week, take a second reading. And if you get two consecutive readings that don't drop, you're probably done with the fermentation. But just remember, this whole process with a mead, the upfront process is quick and simple, but the process of waiting is much longer than with a beer. A beer you can have ready to go, finished fermenting in a week. And, if you're going to keg it, you can have it ready in 2 weeks. This is probably going to take a couple of months of sitting before it really gets the way you're going to want it. So just be very patient with it, but I think you're going to have a good time with it. So I recommend you try making a mead. This is my first, so we'll kind of do this together, and I'll let you know how it goes. All right. Well, thanks again for watching Bill's Brews, and be sure to like and subscribe, and check us out on our Facebook page, and just keep coming back for more and looking for our next video. Anyway, thanks for watching. Take care.